hi, and welcome to the Real with Shy Power Pack series, where I bring to you 50 amazing business experts. Today, I have CEO expert, author, and the owner of Send It Rising Internet Marketing, Mr. Kellen Kautzman. Welcome.
Hey, Chai, how's life?
Wonderful, and so happy that we can finally have you here with us, guys. He is worth the wait, guys. He is worth the wait. I'm telling you. All right. So tell us, who is Kellen Kautzman, and give us a little bit of your backstory.
So I was born in Mandan, North Dakota, in 1984. So I'll be 35 next month. Got two wonderful kids, but I'm sure your guests are interested in the business credentials. I've owned four companies, most notably Send It Rising Internet Marketing, headquartered out of Las Vegas, Nevada. We have approximately 45 clients nationwide doing digital advertising. I wrote the book, Everybody's Doing It, Advertising Redefined, which was a #1 new release in Amazon.com. I'm a keynote speaker. Last year, a company paid $6,000 for a 90-minute keynote, which was the most I've been paid to date, which is exciting that that's headed in that direction. And I used to be a teacher. I have a master's degree in education from the University of Minnesota, and I taught Spanish and ESL. And not 9 years ago, about 8-9 years ago, I was taking naps in my car in between my $9 an hour job and my $15 an hour teaching job at night, teaching adults how to speak English who spoke Spanish. So I have not been in this world for, more than, I would say 11 years, because I had started doing lesson plans online, and that's how I got into this. Was as a teacher, I would hop on Google and I would try to find quick lesson plan if I didn't do my homework, so to speak, the night before, just quick something to fill up 10-15 minutes at class towards the end. And I just thought there's probably a bunch of teachers that are in the same predicament as I am. And so that's how I got into SEO. I wrote a ton of those, and my goal was to get 1 million views online, and I managed to do that through those lesson plans. And then flash forward, basically that's what we do for clients nowadays. We're a content development agency. Local businesses want to rank in Google, and I'm quite honest with them, Chai. They sometimes have pie in the sky ideas as far as what they can accomplish in what amount of time, and I get to come in and give them a realistic assessment of what's going to work, what's not going to work. And so most days I spend chatting with business owners about whether or not, we can get good ROI for them and what the strategies would be to do that.
Wow. And I can definitely affiliate with that. I did not know the part about the ESL teacher for some reason, even reading up your bio and everything. And for me, that's kind of my story somewhat, because I'm transitioning out of ESLs. But I still teach part-time some days, but Chinese students that are learning English. So that's exciting to hear that you went from that into being in marketing successful, because a lot of my audience can affiliate with that. Now, I want to know a little about your journey to Send It Rising Marketing for you to start that company.
Was the question, what was the impetus to start the company?
Well, what was the journey like? Like, what was your mindset like? Why, what were your challenges?
Right. That's a good question. So I was part of a company called Advise Media Group, which was kind of modern day Mad Men. We had this ridiculously beautiful office in downtown Las Vegas, and I started with them at $9 an hour as a blogger. And as a North Dakotan, as a Midwesterner, I was brought up with pretty strong work ethic. And when I sat down and I looked at the other folks that were working for the company at the time, I thought to myself, I'm probably going to outwork a lot of these folks. I'm just going to outwork them. And I'm very competitive, and I just put my head down and I worked and I worked and I worked and I worked. And slowly and surely people kind of dropped away and dropped away and dropped away. And then my seniority rose, and I ended up using Advise Media Group as a springboard because the writing was on the wall for that company. And I had a conversation where basically I talked to the owner at the time, and I said, hey, I'm gonna jettison and talk to my client list, and that was one of the more stressful moments in my life. Was I had to call each one of my clients and say, hey, I'm starting to send that rising thing. If you are interested, I'd love to have you, but I understand if you are not going to make the jump. And 95% of them did. And had those conversations gone poorly, I'd probably be working at someone else's company. So for me, and Jordan Peterson has some good YouTube videos on this, but if you lie to someone, if I lie to someone, it's hard to keep up with all the lies. And so I think one of the reasons Sender Rising is doing so well is that we are just desperately trying to tell our clients the truth all the time. And it is not always pretty. Marketing is, it's a battle. And most of the time, it's bad news. Most of the time, it's, that didn't work. We're going to try this over here. Well, that was okay, kind of. All right, okay, well, a little bit. What were the phone calls like? Oh, they were telemarketers. Okay, well, we'll try again. Try this different thing over here. Oh, we'll rank you. It's just the realistic interpretation of marketing in 2019 is a battlefield. But when you win, it's is what separates us from a lot of our competitors. And then being an educator, I will talk to anyone at any time about anything, and all of my employees know that. So if there's a client that needs to talk about XYZ, I'll hop on the phone with them, no problem. If there is a realtor who's just like it's their second day on the job and they want to talk about marketing, cool, I'll talk to them too. Like, it doesn't matter to me who it is. I don't care what your title is. I don't care how long you've been doing it. So I actually host something called Entrepreneurs Assembly here in Las Vegas every first Saturday of the month. So if you're ever in Vegas, 9 to noon, feel free to stop on by. It's at the Sam Boyd Room at the United Way of Southern Nevada. I'm honored to be on the I mentor entrepreneurs once a month in that capacity, and so I'm still a teacher all these years later.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, you said something that is just so powerful to me. I need you to say that again about marketing being a battlefield, because I need people to understand that is so powerful. I think people have a lot of misconceptions. Can you just say that part again? That is powerful.
So I actually teach a black belt class at this martial arts school here in Henderson, Nevada.
Oh, you do a lot.
Yeah, I'm really honored to do it. It's really fun. It's the black belt class Thursday nights. It's tonight at Spirit Taekwondo here in Vegas. And one of the things I tell the students there is we practice something called Tai Chi push hands. And these are all Taekwondo students, so they're used to like punch, kick, punch, 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 kick. And Tai Chi push hands is much more like gently make contact, redirect, understand where their base is, push them a little bit off center. It's just, there's a lot of subtlety to it. And so the battlefield analogy is true. It is a battlefield, but a lot of folks talk about war as long periods of silence with exclamation points, right? And with brief moments of just absolutely, life-altering moments. And so marketing is a lot like that too, We will go long stretches where it's kind of like moving in the right direction, and then they release a book, right? Or we do some major marketing push. It's like that. And having the emotional fortitude to ride the highs and lows is a piece of it that a lot of folks I don't think realize is part of the game. You have to let your clients know, especially with search engine optimization. It's like 6 to 9 months if it makes it at all. We do month to month for this very reason. There's a lot of folks out there that will get you into a year-long contract, and first few months they can do a lot of work and then maybe coast and then maybe ramp it up towards the end to try to convince you to stay with them. We do month to month because I want the incentive. I want my employees to have the incentive to stay in the fight. You got every single month is a month where a client can let us go. So keep your head in the game, right? There's no coasting. So yeah, if you're looking at marketing one of your own projects, get your head right, because you're about to get into a fight, and it's not going to be one of those like swing, hooray, you land a right hook and they go down and that's the end of it. It's more it can happen, but it's more like a marathon 11-round boxing match where it feels like someone took a wet blanket and threw it over your head as you're gasping for air. It's hard. It's hard to do it right.
Okay, so let's talk about your journey as an author. What led you to write this amazing book?
So I kept finding myself in front of groups of people, 30 people, 50 people, 70 people, talking, telling anecdotes. And I told my brother, man, if I do one more of these and I don't have a book, I'm just kicking myself. Like, what am I doing? It's part of the culture of public speakers to have a book. And I knew I needed one. And so I feel like the story should be, I felt so much inspiration and based on this creativity that was bubbling inside of me to create this book, but that's not the truth. The truth was, it was the right business move. Now, this is kind of like the guy who does, who's that gentleman who does dirty jobs? He talks about how you find meaning in a job that other people find, like unsatisfactory. That was the book for me. It was, I need to write a book. I went into it. Someone told me write it in a season, which is pretty good advice for those of you thinking about doing it. Write the actual book in a season. It's probably not going to take you more than 3 months to get the number of words on the page that you need to get to about 100 words for a 6x9 book. Single spaced, it's like 45 pages in Microsoft Word or Google Drive or Google Docs. So it's just not that much. So hunker down, write. You want to understand habits and habit loops if you want to knock out a book. So for me, my kids were 2 and 3 years old. And so I'd shut the door to their room and all I wanted to do was just go to bed, obviously, just watch Netflix and just like do nothing, sit on the Tempur-Pedic mattress and chill out. And so what I would do is I would reward myself with a cup of tea, chamomile tea, and then I would take that. And every single time I got the chamomile tea, I'd go back in front of the computer. And that was the habit loop. So I just kept reinforcing that behavior. And so I wouldn't want to write the book, but I would get the tea anyway because I wanted the tea. And 0 times when I had the tea in my hand did I go to the bed. That was where the willpower I just had to use just a little bit of willpower just to get back in front of the computer. And then I write a few paragraphs and then call it a day, and it takes about 3 months.
Wow. So tell us a little about your book.
So the basic premise is that this is an advertisement. This podcast. When a baby cries, it's an advertisement because the baby needs your attention. In fact, the first thing we do as humans is advertise, like, hello, I'm here, help me. And we get the attention of those around us. And as a baby, it gets you everything you need because that's just how the system's set up. So mom or dad or whomever, caretaker, will give you, they'll change your diaper, they'll give you milk, they'll feed you, they'll clothe you, they'll put you in a warm environment. And as you grow, just the screaming becomes less and less effective. And so this is what companies go through. When they first are born, they just scream like, I exist, like just know I exist. And they're just as loud as possible. And they're just trying to get as much attention as possible. And then over time, those same tactics work less and less. And so what I want people to reflect upon is that advertising, which comes from the root advertere in Latin, which means to turn toward. So anything you do at any time to get someone to look at you or hear you is, by definition, an advertisement. And so we all constantly advertise all of the time, being cognizant of that, reflecting on how you're advertising, not if you are or not, but how you are, is a really important step towards what I consider advertising enlightenment, right? Which is self-realization that I am constantly getting people's attention. What am I doing with it? And am I turning that energy towards my vision of what my life looks like in a year, 5 years, 10 years, and at the end?
Wow. So let's talk CEO. Now, CEO is something that we hear a lot as marketers, but I know it's a relatively complex thing, or maybe it's not, but I've heard that it is relatively complex. So just tell me, like, I'm a marketer. Why is SEO important? What is SEO? Because I hear it all the time. What is search engine optimization? Why is it important to me?
Right. So SEO 10 years ago meant that when you create a that when you create a website, excuse me, that you want to include keywords that people are searching for, right? It meant that when you Google search something, that blue link and the black text that appear underneath it, you can write those. So that's called the title and meta description. So understanding that, writing, the content that people are searching for, so like podcast, entrepreneur podcast, for example, would be keywords for this particular endeavor of yours. And then, ultimately ranking and getting the clicks and getting the traffic and the attention that you want. That was the game. Now, in 2019, SEO has evolved into who's coming to your website, how often are they coming, how long are they staying, how many pages are they visiting, how many links are pointing to the website, what are the quality of those links, what is the social media attached to those websites, what is the quality of that social media, how many YouTube videos do you have, what are the words being spoken into YouTube videos, because YouTube auto captions English, which means that when you say something into YouTube, 3 minutes after you upload it, the words literally appear in captions underneath you with about 98, 99% accuracy. So if you, for example, do a YouTube video or even take this podcast and put it on YouTube, the words I'm saying right now are being transcribed into the written word automatically. And so you can write blogs all day, 1,000-word blog, for example, or you can film a 15-minute YouTube video, which at 1 word per second, 60 seconds a minute, so that's 60 words per minute, so it'd be about 900. So 900-ish words in a 15-minute YouTube video. But I say more than 1 word a second, so it's more than that. So that's SEO in a nutshell in 2019.
Wow, that is very interesting. Huh. I think a lot of people just hear SEO and they think it's just ranking on Google and they don't see it as important. So thank you for really sharing that with us. Wow, that is amazing. So let's talk about entrepreneurship. What does it take to be an entrepreneur in 2019?
So a lot of people will have grandiose ideas of what their vision is going to be, and I fall into this as well. I was going to executive produce a documentary, and it just fell apart like yesterday, and I'm so sad. And I had visions, and just the whole thing was going to be perfect, all laid out in my head, and then a cold reality bit me in the butt. So that, to a large extent, is entrepreneurship, which is the willingness to have a vision, to see it, to experience that future moment in the present, look at all the different angles, and really live it prior to it happening, right? So I'm sure, Chai, you were interviewing me months ago, right? Even though now it's manifesting and now it exists, but you were having this conversation with me in your head, basically. And now you're watching it transpire in front of you. That's entrepreneurship. And so it's a lot of wishing, it's a lot of hoping, it's a lot of thinking, pondering, and being willing to understand that even if you viscerally 100% can see it in your mind's eye, does not mean it's going to happen. It may happen in a different way. It may manifest in a way that you didn't expect, but you have to be open to the twists and turns and curves and changes and just madness that is just this chaotic environment that we're trying to make the most sense out of. So, for example, I should be absolutely pleased with myself based on what the current situation is with the number of clients, the business, the employees, all of it. I should just be the happiest person on planet Earth. But the curse of entrepreneurship is that, of course, I'm not. Of course, I'm thinking about, 2, 5, 10 years down the line, and only 5 employees plus vendors. Nah, it should be 15, it should be 20. This is I'm already so far in the future that it's really tough to sit. And so sometimes what I'll do is I will just state facts to myself. I'll be in my car and I'll just be really upset or bothered about whatever. And I'll just start stating facts. And the facts are good. And I think that's true for a lot of people. Like, I have food, I have shelter, I've got, like, I'm, you know what I mean? Like the different things. Like, I take a walk for an hour every morning. That's really good for me. I'm exercising, I'm eating right. There's just a lot that's going well. And that, to me, is part of the entrepreneurship journey that a lot of people just kind of forget about. They or they don't put on a high enough priority. Executives at the highest levels will talk a lot about mental health. They talk a lot about taking time and scheduling it for yourself. And so these are things that you can emulate even if you're not there yet. Blocking time for exercise, blocking time or making sure you're eating right, blocking time for meditation, blocking time for just thinking about, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes from 3 to 3:15, and I'm just going to close my eyes and I'm going to think about what I want next year or next week or whatever. Because when you engage with your partners, your employees, potential clients, they want you in the best possible version of you. And that is, a well-rested, thoughtful, inspired human being. So just do that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's so well said. Okay, so can you give us an insight to millennial business ownership?
Yeah, so 34, I'll be 35 next month. That does put me in the millennial category. I feel like a fraud in a lot of ways because I was in a company and I grew with that company, not in an ownership capacity, earned my clients, and then became an owner. So in that sense, it's not the typical, I'm going to save up money and have some runway and then launch my entrepreneurial vision and da-da-da-da. But what I find is a lot of the people that do that, that's a rough road to go down. It's a lot of stress because that money is just dwindling and you're like, ugh. And I'm not a huge fan of looking for other people's money to make your money. It obviously happens in Silicon Valley all of the time. People are getting investors all of the time, but people get really obsessed with this idea of, I just need someone to pay me $200,000. And then when I get that $200,000, here are all the magical things that I'll be able to do with that money. And every time I watch Shark Tank, which is pretty infrequently, but they typically just are like, yeah, sales, like, yeah, gotcha, heard you, cool idea, neat. How many sales do you have? Well, we don't have any sales yet. And then they all just go, not interested anymore. Show me the sales. Now, there are other forms of currency, like our website's getting 50,000 views a day. Whoa, hello, all right. Well, you haven't monetized that yet. Yeah, no, we haven't. We've chosen not to. I mean, here are the ways that we're thinking about monetizing it. If we get a few influencers to do this, and that, we can monetize in the following ways. Like, that's a conversation because you're still talking about the currency of attention, which has a monetary value. So just don't get trapped in that idea, I want to say, if you're an aspiring entrepreneur.
That is really powerful. Okay, so can you give us a few tips on recruiting?
Recruiting. Oh, my goodness gracious. Sometimes the stars align and this absolute incredible person just joins the team, and you just are just the happiest person on planet Earth. And what you got to do when those people join your team is just not micromanage, right? So you have adult conversations with them about, okay, here are your responsibilities. I'm going to let you handle those responsibilities and be very clear about that. And you can't do that if you're like a super type A, I need to see everything you're doing personality. And those are your rock stars. Those are the, you are absolutely amazing. Just learn how to say 12 nice things in a row. You're incredible. This email, I will send out 6 or 8 emails a day with 6 exclamation marks. This is amazing. I absolutely love this. This is incredible. You're doing such a good job. This is, don't be afraid to do that, to just lavish praise when they are absolutely killing it. Right. And but here's the problem. If you spend all of your time and you expect everyone on your team to be that amazing and that involved and invested in their job, you're going to have a heck of a time hiring and retaining talent, because not everyone's going to care that much. Not everyone's going to care that much. And so you will end up with employees that are just, more like, I'm doing my job, and they do their job, but they just have different priorities, and the company is not as high up on that list. And there you have to manage them differently, right? So a little bit more oversight, a little bit more knowing what they're doing. I have been terrified of micromanaging my entire ownership career. I just don't want to be that guy. But I also have had to deal with the consequences of not, the financial consequences of it just going really poorly because no one had a pulse on that thing over there. And that's because that particular employee wasn't, they just didn't have their finger on the pulse. And so there's no one size fits all management style that's going to work for everybody. It's just like teaching. What works for student A is not going to work for student B, is not going to work for student C. And if you have an opportunity to bring someone onto the team just to get a little bit of experience managing folks, if you haven't before, just try to get someone, even if it's like part-time, 10 hours a week, right? Just to kind of, if you can afford it and you can get someone kind of going. Here's a good example of why this is a big deal. A friend of mine, I won't mention his name, had an idea in his head that all he has to do is hire a salesperson with a Rolodex. He kept using this word Rolodex. And then they would solve all his problems because he can do all the coding. He can do all the computer back-end programming. He just needs that salesperson. And I was like, you're not going to like this, but you're the salesperson. And he's like, I don't want to be the salesperson. I'm sorry to break it to you. Very few people do want to be the salesperson. That's why they get paid what they get paid, because they don't, who wants to go up to someone and build that rapport and know in the back of their mind that they're trying to make a sale and meet all these strangers and get rejected constantly. Like, it's not super fun to do, until you get used to it. And the problem is you can't have ignorant salespeople running around. You can't have people that don't understand it, right, at all, trying to sell something that they don't understand, especially when you're selling technology. Because the people buying it, if they know more than the salesperson, you're in trouble, right? So I told him, if you go and you hire a salesperson and you bring them in, they're going to sit down in your office. They're going to go, okay, boss, what do you want me to do? And you may as well do it yourself at this point. So unless you can bring in the sales and you understand it well enough to train it, you have no business hiring somebody.
That was very interesting. Okay, so since I have to accept as an entrepreneur that I am the salesperson, okay, why should I market on the internet?
Oh, because it's because it's the ubiquitous part of human communication in 2019. We all spend time online every day. This is how we're communicating right now, is using the internet as a tool. That is not to say that it works all the time, because it certainly does not. Internet marketing is hit or miss. It depends where you currently rank. So if your rankings are nowhere, I'll be the first to tell you, you have a really long road ahead of you if you want to invest the money at all. And many times I'll say, don't spend money on SEO. It's probably not going to return on investment for you. You can put in sweat equity. Do you want to write a blog a week? Yeah, you should write a blog a week. You want to do a YouTube video every week? You should absolutely do that. But if you're looking for return on investment based on their website in 2019, that's how we're getting a sense of whether the company is worth what they say they're worth, whether they can charge what they say they can charge. We are going to websites and we are judging them. And so the website has to pass the test, the judge test of like, okay, they look legit enough. If I'm working with a company, can you imagine, Chai, trying to work with a company and they say, oh, we don't have a website. Like, there is no website to go to. That to me would just be absolute madness. It wouldn't make any sense. So good looking website. And then SEO, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Pay-per-click, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Facebook ads, sometimes yes, sometimes no. YouTube and YouTube ads, sometimes yes, sometimes no.
So what about social media?
Is a tool that's going to work for everybody all the time.
What about a social media presence? Sorry for cutting you off. I couldn't hear you for a minute. I thought you were done.
You're good.
What about a social media presence for businesses in this present time that we're in? What do you think about that? Is it part of
yes.
SEO?
It is. So social media is intrinsically connected to whether or not we rank. But again, it depends entirely on the business itself. If you are a tire company, then your social media should largely be coupons for tires, because that's what people want from your Facebook page. They want to save money. Self-storage company, it's going to be harder.
Uh-oh. So I think we lost Kellen for a minute. Let's see what happens. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Okay, I don't know what happened.
Chai, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, so I had to cut out and cut back in, open up a new tab and the whole thing. So
I can edit that out.
Yeah, hopefully I can just edit that out. So I don't know if my video is going to pop on or not.
Yeah, you're on. We're back. I'll just edit.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can't see me, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, you can't see yourself there. I can see you clear.
Perfect. Okay, cool. All right, sorry. Where were we?
So we were talking about the social media presence for businesses, and we spoke about the tire. That's the last part that I heard. The tire.
Okay, sure.
So after that.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to depend entirely on the nature of the business. So we had a retro dress company that we were working with for a while, and their Facebook page was absolutely glorious. People absolutely loved it. My sister, who owns Chelsea Smith Cosmetics, that she recently launched, she's doing about 20 to 30,000 views on every Facebook Live campaign that she's, or rather every Facebook Live that she does. And so for cosmetics, for like retro dresses, like that sort of thing, Speed Vegas is a good example. It's a racetrack here off the 15 heading in from California to Vegas. There's this beautiful racetrack with these gorgeous cars, some of the most beautiful cars on planet Earth. That's built for Instagram, right? That's built for Facebook. But you compare that to, say, I don't know, a grocery store. You know, a grocery store, people just want coupons. Like, you can take as many pictures as you want as the produce aisle, but it's not exactly a Lamborghini. So just being realistic about, what's my business? Oh, insurance is a good example. Yeah, good luck making like life insurance like a great social media program. It's tough. People are price shopping. So for life insurance, if you can rank #1 in Google for life insurance quotes, you're rich. You're rich, because that's what everyone wants. They want to hop on. They want a better price. They want to price shop. Tell me how much it's worth, and just get me along with my day. So it just depends. It's just like, I think the best analogy would be a toolbox. You got your hammer, you got screwdrivers, you got pliers, and each social media platform does a different job.
So what about network marketing? How do you think network marketers can benefit from SEO? I'm curious.
So, so I'm part of a group called Business Networking International. It's BNI, and we meet once per week. And my particular group accounts for probably 70% of our total revenue as a company, based on the people I've met there, and then the referrals I got from the people and the referrals from the referrals. And so I still am a big believer. If you are a B2B where you're asking for a lot of money, let's say you're asking for $800 a month, right? Which would be not uncommon for me to ask a potential small business owner. That's not a hamburger. That's not an oil change. That's a significant investment. And so those tend to require face-to-face relationships. I don't need to know, like Bill, who's going to put in a air filter when I get my oil change done. Like, I don't need a personal relationship with Bill, but I do need a personal relationship with the person who's going to be creating how I appear on the internet, on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Pinterest, on YouTube, and control my rankings. That person I need a relationship with. Now, that being said, the referrals are a huge deal. So we worked for a garage door repair company here in Vegas. Then we got referred to someone in California. I've never met him. And he's our largest client. Talked to him on the phone a bunch. That's enough. So I don't think you need the face-to-face, but you need that really warm introduction if you're a B2B. And if you're a B2C, then, I think the internet is probably your main source of income, or it will be eventually.
So what is the key factor in small business growth?
A key factor in small business growth. I would say it's how the owner interacts with people.
I can see that.
I mean, if for some reason a lot of entrepreneurs get what I call the Gordon Ramsay complex, where they think that business owners just yell a lot and they just tell people what to do, and they say this isn't good enough and everything's very dramatic, and some people fall into that trap of thinking that that's what business looks like. It's just very rough and tumble and whatever. But I would say that it's mostly compromise. Being a business owner, it's like, okay, task fell on my table. I don't want to do it. I could give it to my employee, but they're maxed out, and I know they're maxed out doing all of this other stuff. We're not big enough for us to hire someone else or to get more money to deal with this project, and so I'm just going to do it. That's business ownership. I'm just going to do it, even though I am going to wing it and figure out how to do this particular thing that I've never done before, and just take my fair share of the burden. And that goes all the way to when your company grows to a point where, as the owner, it's your responsibility to weather the ups and downs. It's not on the employees to have to think about what was last month's revenue versus this month, what's in the sales pipeline, what do we anticipate for revenue coming next month and 3 months and 6 months, and to have the financial wherewithal to have your own house in order so that your employees don't have to worry about it, don't have to think about it. And if you do well, bonus them out, pay them, right? I had a great meeting with this gentleman, Scott Heck, I believe his name was. He owned the largest title company out of Montana, and I took him to lunch. I said, hey, let me buy you lunch, and it's synthesized wisdom. It's wisdom synthesis time. Drop me some jewels. And he said 2 things. Number 1, long hold. And what he meant by that was, if you own an asset, hold it for 30 years. See what happens. I mean, look at Manhattan real estate prices 30 years ago. It was ridiculous. So assets over time, most people buy and sell them in like 3 to 5 year windows. And so they tend not to appreciate that much in those 3 to 5 year windows. But you hold it for 30, it's just crazy. What can happen? It's absolutely just crazy. When the interest just compounds, or when the growth compounds. And the second thing he said was, don't be greedy. They'll be loyal. they'll stick around, and you'll develop a team that has something that the other companies don't have, which is cohesiveness that was built over time.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Huh. Okay, so I want to switch back to the author side of you for 1 minute. Why should I self-publish? I know that's your thing.
Yeah, so if you own your own business, I think you should, well, I shouldn't say you should consider having a book. And especially if you sell large ticket items. And the reason, make a few jokes, do have some fun. If I hand them a signed copy of my book, they always light up. And so it's a great way to earn rapport, to prove that you're an expert in the industry, and to earn someone's trust. And the cost to me per book is like $3.50. So for less than the price of a Starbucks drink, I can have someone trust me that much more who's a potential client. And then it's not just this gimmick of like, hey, I want you to trust me. That is in part why I'm giving it to them. I also just like giving it away. It makes me feel good. They may or may not read it, right? But if they do read it, what they'll realize is that I know what I'm at a high level, and that I get internet marketing as it stands in 2019. And so being able to prove all of that in 3 seconds, or write some nice note to them, some personalized note, and hand it over, it's just massively helpful towards earning trust and raising your bottom line.
Wow, that's a very interesting way to look at it. I never thought of it that way. Okay, so if there was one final thing, one nugget that you could give our audience to take them through 2019, what would that be? Uh-oh.
Hey, Chai, sorry about that.
That's
Can you
okay.
hear me now?
Yes, I can hear and I can see you.
All right, now I can't hear you for some reason.
Wow. Uh-oh.
I got you. Ooh, sorry about that.
Oh,
Oh,
that's fine. I understand. Like I said before, I was trying to get on for 15 minutes. I don't know. My internet was acting up. I had to like restart my modem. So we just cut all of this out. All
yeah,
right. Let's
yeah.
take
So,
it
okay, last thing, right?
Yes, just one last thing, one powerful nugget that you could give our audience to take them through 2019. What would that be?
It would be that video production is no longer something that you can push next year. What you're doing here, Chai, is a perfect example of what needs to happen. You have to be willing to be the salesperson for your organization. You have to be willing to be the voice and face for your organization. If you're not willing to do it, trying to get someone else to do it is a bit naive. You know the most about it. You have the most passion for it. It is your responsibility. And I think we're all afraid of standing out in public, putting ourselves out there, and having to answer all of these questions about anything that someone could ask us. That's a very normal human fear, to be in the public square and to be open to anything that anyone says to us in a public scenario. So overcoming that fear is incredibly hard to do. You want to sound eloquent when you're talking about what you're talking about. You want to sound informed, and there's no easy way to get there except to do it a lot. So radio guest list is a good place to stop. If you haven't stopped there, it's a good way to get on different podcasts. So that's a good, smart move. Anytime anyone gives you a public speaking opportunity, paid or unpaid, do it. It doesn't matter if you're talking to the kids in a gymnasium, or if I'm talking to a board, some government board. I don't even know what they do, Chai. It's the BDAC. I'm talking to the BDAC because I was invited. Darby said, "Hey, Kellen, do you want to swing by this thing next week and talk to the board members?" Okay. I've looked it up. I kind of sort of know what they do, but I'll know the day of. I'll tell you that much. I haven't gotten around to researching it quite yet. So that's the thing is own your business, and that means that's your face, your voice, your passion in the public square, so everyone can hear you.
Wow, that is amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kellen, for this amazing interview. I learned a lot. And I know that everyone out here that is listening to this podcast, that you guys have learned a lot too. All right. So tell us, how can we get in contact with you? How can we connect with you?
Sure. You can send me an email directly. It's Kellen, Kellen. That's my first name, at senditrising.com. Again, Kellen at senditrising.com. Or you can give us a call, 702-475-5592.
All right. Well, there you have it, guys. All right, Kellen. Hope to see you again soon. Bye. See you next time.
Bye.